2024 or 2025? Which Texas roster is better? We'll debate on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. We are 120 days away from the Texas Longhorns season opener against Ohio State. Not that we're counting. The 2024 Texas football team was special. The Horns went 13-3. They played for an SEC championship in year one in the conference. They won the first two college football playoff games in school history. They made it all the way to the CFP semifinal. And the icing on the cake this past weekend, they had a modern era school record with 12 players drafted in the 2025 NFL draft. So the 2024 team and the 2024 roster were really good. Is the 2025 roster even better? We're going to go position by position, starting with the offense in this segment and then defense in the next one, and we'll decide which year is better, last year or this year. So we'll start with the offense, and we'll start with the quarterback. I'm going to go easy here. Yeah, the opposite. All right, a little screen share. We can only fit starters on the screen share, so we'll talk about the 2 deep and the 3 deep at each position. But here is the screen share of the 2025 projected depth chart on the left, and then the 2024 actual depth chart on the right. So starting with quarterback, I'm going to cheat here. The 2024 quarterback room was better, but the 2025 starter is better. Like having a 3-year starter with Quinn Ewers with Arch Manning as your backup. Texas had the best QB room in America last year. Now, Arch Manning might be the best starter in America this year, but I can't say that Texas has the best QB room in the country. No disrespect to Trey Owens or KJ Lacey. We just don't know enough about those guys because we haven't seen them yet outside of Trey Owens' performance in the spring game last year and some garbage time snaps late in some meaningless games last season. So I think Arch Manning can have a better 2025 than Quinn Ewers had 2024. Matter of fact, I think Arch Manning will have a better 2025 than what we just saw from Quinn Ewers this past season. Because it's the quarterback and there's only one of them on the field at the same time, I'm going to give the nod to 2025 for the sake of this exercise. So again, last year's QB room, top to bottom, the best in the country. This year's QB room, I don't know if you could say that, but I think Arch Manning this year is going to be better with this Texas offense than, again, what we saw from Quinn this past season. So 1 point for 2025. And y'all be sure to comment below with your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Curious to hear what you guys and gals think about the differences between these two rosters. Now we go to running back. I'm going to give this one to 2025 as well. Look, Jaden Blue is gone. He won't be easy to replace. He was a big-time weapon on the ground and in the passing game. He scored both of Texas's touchdowns in that college football playoff loss to Ohio State. I mean, he was a difference maker. But I think overall, from top to bottom, this running back room in 2025 is going to be better. Of course, CJ Baxter is back from injury. Trey Wisner coming off a 1,000-yard season. He's going to be better. I saw a report from Orange Bloods the other day that said Quintravion Wisner may have been the most impressive Longhorn throughout spring practice. He's bigger, faster, stronger, apparently more explosive and dynamic as well. So him going into his, second really full season of being a big part of this offense, I think is going to help. Jarrett Gibson going into his year 2, I think will be better. You got Christian Clark coming back from his torn Achilles. You've got the 2 early enrollee freshmen as well. I mean, remember, Texas had to add a transfer 10 days before the start of last season because of the injuries to CJ Baxter and Christian Clark in fall camp. They just didn't have enough depth there. They had to go bring in Velton Gardner like less than 2 weeks before the first game. This year, they're in a much better spot. Again, no disrespect to Jaden Blue. He will be missed. But yeah, Baxter back, and with Wisner coming off the 1,000-yard season he had, I think this Texas running game will be better in 2025. Moving on to wide receiver, I think you got to give this one to last year's squad, right? I mean, you got 3 transfers a season ago. All of them had skins on the wall. Isaiah Bond put up good numbers at Alabama. Matthew Golden had a couple of really productive years at Houston. Silas Bolden was Oregon State's leading receiver the year before he came to Austin. So all 3 of those guys, I mean, you had Jonte Cook. We know how that turned out. But at this time last year, we thought Jonte Cook was going to be a star. You had Ryan Wingo coming in as a freshman. You had DeAndre Moore going into his second year. I felt better about the Texas wide receiver room at this time a year ago than I do right now. I mean, you only have 2 returning wide receivers with any stats on this 2025 team. It's DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo, who I think are both going to have great seasons. I mean, I don't know if I could say DeAndre Moore is going to have a breakout year because I feel like last year was his breakout year, but I think there's plenty of reason to believe his numbers are going to get better. And then Ryan Wingo, that's a guy I think is going to have a breakout season in his second year on the 40s. I'm excited about those 2 guys. I like the Emmett Mosley pickup from Stanford. I think he's going to be really good, and he put up some great numbers with the Cardinal last season. I think he's going to make an impact. Of course, Texas brought in an elite class of wide receivers in 2025 with Lockett and French and Terry and McCutcheon. You've got Parker Livingston, who had a great spring. There's obviously talent. I trust Sark is always going to have talent at wide receiver, and I love the job that Chris Jackson has done as the wide receivers coach. But again, last year, just a little bit more proven. You kind of knew what you had. Even though some of those dudes were coming in from other schools, you just had more skins on the wall. And again, I just felt better about that group right now. So I will go with 2024 for the wide receiver room. Moving to tight end, I'm going to give that one to 2024 as well. Look, I think Jack Endries is a stud. He was my favorite transfer portal pickup of the 10 that the Longhorns brought in. I think he's going to put up huge numbers at Texas. But Gunnar Helm just set the school record for yards and catches by a tight end in a single season. I don't think Jack Endries is going to do that. I hope he does. That'd be awesome. But you had Gunnar Helm, even though you didn't know exactly how good he was going into the season. He was going into his 4th year with the program. You also had Juan Davis going into his 4th year with the program. Amari Niblack was coming in from Bama. He was their top tight end 2 years ago. You brought him in out of the portal. So obviously hindsight is 2020. We know how good that tight end room ended up being. But even in the offseason, you felt pretty good that Texas had 2.5 really good weapons at tight end. It was a better room on paper. It turned out to be even better than expected. But yeah, I just think Texas had a little bit more depth last year on that 2024 roster. Again, Endries should have a big year. I like Jordan Washington. I like Nick Townsend. I like Amari Winston. I'm excited about their futures. Spencer Shannon's going to be a big part of this offense in 12 personnel and 22 personnel. He's going to be important. But I feel like Texas was better at tight end a season ago. Last but not least, on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive linemen, the big uglies up front. Got to give it to 2024, don't you? And you had 4 returning starters from the 2023 Big 12 championship squad. Now, Kelvin Banks, you knew was going to be a first-round pick. He was going into his 3rd season as a starter at left tackle. Jake Majors was going into his 23rd season, it felt like, as this team starting center. You knew what he was going to bring to the table. Hayden Connor, a 4-year guy. I mean, you were only replacing one guy from 2023. So more experience, more proven talent. I think the ceiling for this 2025 O-line is very high. And I think the 2025 group can be more consistent than what we saw in 2024 because that group was far from perfect. There were games where they just kind of no-showed. And you look at some of Texas's rushing stats, especially in their 3 losses, the offensive line was just not nearly as good as it needed to be against the best competition on the schedule. So do I think it's possible that this Texas O-line group can improve? I do. But right now, I mean, look, Texas was a finalist for the Joe Moore Award this past season. I don't know if they quite deserve that, but people who watch a lot of football and know a lot more about offensive line play than I do felt like Texas had a top 3 offensive line in the country last season. I thought they were going to be elite going in. They ended up being very close to elite throughout the year. With this season, only one starter back. Cole Hudson's got a lot of experience. Trevor Gooseby has a lot of experience. I think Neto and Brandon Baker can be great pieces up front, but this one feels pretty easy to me. I said it earlier this week. I think the offensive line is my biggest question mark for Texas here in early May. I don't think you have the depth this year that you did last year. And again, you knew what you had because pretty much all of those guys were starting 2 years ago. You don't know what you have because of all of the turnover up front. I think Kyle Flood's going to get it right. But again, point to 2024. So 5 positions in. We've gone through the whole offense. We've got 2 votes for 2025, quarterback and running back. I think this year's group is better, but wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line, I am going to give the tallies to 2024. What say you? Am I on? Am I off? Would love to hear from y'all in the comments below if you are watching on YouTube. All right, let's switch over to the defense. Will the Horns be even better defensively in 2025? We'll dive in coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the best and most reliable way to order your products online. Their website is super easy to use, and it is packed with helpful resources and all of the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Their inventory is massive. We're talking more than 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, if you just have questions, Supply House offers expert support and industry leading service. So you're always going to talk to a real person. And for you trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And on top of all of that, if you use the promo code SH5, you'll get 5% off your first order. One more time, it's supplyhouse.com. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Now taking a look at the defense, comparing the 2024 roster to the 2025 roster. Did I do the screen share right? There we go. We've got the defensive screen share up now. Again, only the starters. I'm not tech savvy enough to figure out how to do more than that. On the left side, you've got the projected starters for the 2025 team. On the right side, you've got the actual starters for 2024. We'll start up front with the defensive tackle position. We're separating D tackles and edges for the sake of this exercise. This one is close. This one is very close because of what Texas just did in the transfer portal, bringing in 5 defensive linemen. If you asked me this at the start of the offseason or even before the spring portal window, I would have said no brainer 2024. I'm still going to give it to 2024 because, you knew what you had with Alfred Collins. Now, we put it all together in his final year. Same thing with Vernon Broughton, but you had guys who were deep into the program. They ended up both being top 3 round picks in this NFL draft. I don't think Texas has, I don't know if they have one top 3 round pick on the defensive line in 2026. I think there are guys who could develop into pretty high draft picks when their time comes in the NFL. Justice Terry. But in terms of just the short term, I don't know if the ceiling is as high for that group this coming year as it was last year. The depth is absolutely there. Again, you bring in 5 guys from the portal. You've got 3 early enrollee freshmen to combine with Alex January and Melvin Hills III. I think that room is in a healthy spot. And I'll tell you right now, I think the 2026 Texas defensive tackle room is going to be better than 2025 and 2024. But I don't know if I can give that nod right now. You got to give these guys some time to develop, and I just have to see it at Texas. So again, love what the Longhorns did, bringing in 5 players from the portal. Cole Brevard, I think, is going to be a starter. I think Murad Watson's going to play a lot. I think all of those guys are going to be a part of the rotation. But with Collins and Broughton, just having guys that you already knew about and then going out and getting Bill Norton and Jermaine Lole for depth, close, but 2024 gets my vote. To the outside now, the edge rushers. This one's an easy one for me. It's 2025. Much love to Barrett Sorrell. Huge fan of him. Huge fan of his pops. Huge fan of what he did for Texas. But man, Colin Simmons going into year 2, coming off of his 9-sack freshman season. The guy's talking about wanting to break Kiki Diala's all-time single-season sack record at Texas, which is what, 22 and a half? Yeah, big expectations for Colin Simmons. And I think I don't know if he breaks that record, but I think he's going double digits for sure this year. Ethan Burke going into his senior campaign. Colton Vasek back and hopefully healthy for an entire season. You've got Trey Moore back for another year. I know he's playing some linebacker as well, but I still think he's going to be a part of the edge room. Brad Spence coming in from Arkansas, another guy who's probably going to cross-train. Well, has been cross-training, but will likely play snaps at both edge and linebacker when we get to the real games. Yeah, the edge room is loaded, and all of those guys a year better, plus Brad Spence, plus a healthy Colton Vasek. I think, look, Texas didn't have a double-digit sack guy last year. I think they have one, and I think the team sack numbers increase because of all of that talent you have on the edge. Your starters are great, but you also have enough depth to rotate guys to keep them fresh over the course of 60 minutes and over the course of a long college football year. So give me 2025. Back to the linebackers now. 2025, another point for them. You lose David Benda, who was a 6th year last year, meant a lot to the team, a team leader, a great player, served a big-time role for this squad. But Anthony Hill going into his 3rd year, guy's a projected first-round pick. We talked about a way too early 2026 mock that had Ant Hill going 3rd overall. I don't know if he goes that high, but that's big-time stuff right there. Leon Galafau going into his 2nd year kind of as a starter, 3rd year with the program. Showed me a lot last year. Excited about him. And then the aforementioned Trey Moore and Brad Spence, 2 guys who weren't part of things last year who are going to help that linebacker spot. Anthony Smith, too, going into his 2nd season at Texas. I think the coaching staff really, really likes him. Lesser heralded on the recruiting trail, but he turned some heads with what he did in practice and even got to be in games, not just in garbage time, but actually played some important snaps at moments for Texas in 2024. Him going into his 2nd season. Yeah, with Johnny Nansen and company, I really like this linebacker room. I think it will be better in 2025. Back to the secondary now. Cornerbacks. You got to go with 2024, right? Because he had Jahdae Barron, and all Big 12 player in 2023. Ended up winning the Thorpe Award this past year. I don't think Texas has anybody who's going to win the Thorpe Award this year. Sorry, I'm taking y'all for a ride with all this back and forth. I'll keep myself small in the corner. Gavin Holmes was there too. He was solid, picked up as a UDFA, not really a starter, but a guy who I think was in his 5th year of college football, transferred into Texas on the 2nd or 3rd year here with the Longhorns. Yeah, I just think you had more. I'm excited about this room in 2025. And with Dwayne Akina back, like we could look back at this video and say I was wrong on this prediction because you've got a ton of potential. Hell, Steve Sarkisian a week or 2 ago said he thinks the secondary might be the best and deepest position group that Texas has in 2025. So, you've got Manny Muhammad going into his 3rd season as a starter. Big fan of his game. You got Jalen Gilbo. You got Kobe Black. You got Warren Roberson. You got the freshman Cade Phillips, who had a great spring. There's all sorts of talent there. Texas has recruited incredibly well, and Dwayne Akina, again, coaching those guys up. That group has so much potential, but still, for right now, I'm going to go 2024. Now to the safeties, maybe the toughest one of all. I'm going to go with 2025. Now, Andrew Makuba, I don't have to tell y'all how important he was. I mean, Texas's pass defense ranked in the hundreds in 2023. They were in the top 10 in 2024. They were number 1 in the country for a long while. The only thing that really changed, and you had the same coaches and you had most of the same players, the biggest difference was, Andrew Makuba. That guy was everywhere. 4 or 5 interceptions last season. I should know that for a fact. I apologize for not. He was so good. You knew he was good. 3-year starter at Clemson. Played in some big games for the Tigers. Like I know Clemson has fallen off a little bit, although it feels like they're kind of back right now. But still, like if you are good enough to play as a freshman at that place, you know you're good. Anybody from the Austin area saw Andrew Makuba in high school, so you knew he was good then. Second round pick of the Eagles. He's going to be good there too. He was great, and he will be missed. But you've got Michael Taft going into year 5. You got Derek Williams Jr. coming back from his injury. You've got Jelani McDonald. I loved his game. He's going to take a bigger role this year. And you've got Xavier Filsaime and Jordan Johnson Rebel, and then the 5-star baseball player Jonah Williams in there too. You've got more depth, I think, at safety this year, and the potential of that room is sky high. Like, I know you're going to lose Taff after this year, but that position group should be a strength for the next 3 seasons because of how you've recruited and all of the talent you've amassed there. So I'm going to go 2025. Again, this is tough because I love Andrew Makuba so much and the impact he made on this defense. He's going to be hard to replace, but I'm going to go with 2025. Just top to bottom, I feel like that group is better. Last but not least, not shown on screen, the special teams. I think 2025. Look, Texas's special teams last year were abysmal. They were in the 110s in the S&P Plus efficiency rankings from ESPN. They were one of the worst special teams in America, and it cost them. Bert Auburn was bad. Michael Kern was not very good. They didn't block anything. It was a problem for the Horns. You upgraded kicker with Mason Shipley. You upgraded punter with Jack Bowmeister. We'll see about the returners. Losing Silas Bolden stings, but Texas always has return men. I think they'll be fine there. That group is going to be better. It has to be better. It can't be worse than what we witnessed in 2024. And Jeff Banks' special teams units were really good even in 2021 when the team sucked. The special teams was really good. Same thing in 22 and 23. Last year, the anomaly, Texas ensured that it was going to be an anomaly with the upgrades that they made in the portal. I think special teams in 2025 is going to be better. So let's see. By my count for defense, that's 3 for 25, 2 for 24. Offense was 2 for 25, 3 for 24. So that's tied at 5. Special teams, the tiebreaker. 2025 wins 6-5. If my math is right, please check me on that. How about that? So, yeah, I think Texas is still loaded with talent. The Longhorns have done an amazing job accumulating talented players. And, that's why Texas is going to be a preseason top 3 team when we get closer to the fall. Do you agree? 2024 better? 2025 better? What say you? Comment below with your thoughts. Thanks for going through that exercise with me. All right, that was fun. What wasn't fun was last night's Texas baseball game. The Horns were handed their worst loss of the season in the series opener against Arkansas. Can they bounce back? We'll discuss next on Locked On Longhorns. All right, Texas baseball suffered its worst loss of the year last night, 9-0, the final score in Fayetteville against the Hogs. It was ugly, and it got ugly in a hurry. Nothing worked for Texas. Ruger Riojas was the starter. He was masterful in his first series opening start last weekend against A&M. He was the opposite of that last night. Gave up a career-high 9 runs in just 3 2/3 innings of work. Riojas' career high, not just at Texas, but at UTSA, where he was before transferring. Career high in runs allowed was 3. He tripled that with 9 given up last night. The Hogs hit 2 mammoth homers. It was 5-0 after 3. It was 9-0 after 4. It was game blouses. The Texas offense no-showed as well. 2 hits, about 14 strikeouts. Tip of the cap to Zach Root, the Hogs ace. He was phenomenal. Struck out the first 4 Longhorns he faced, and he was just off to the races after that. 8 scoreless innings, 11 Ks for him. Gave up just 2 hits and 2 walks. Every Texas starter struck out at least once. I mean, it was equal opportunity suckage last night for Texas. The pitching stunk. Batting stunk. It all stunk for the Horns. Now here's the good news. It's only 1 game. You still have a 4-game lead in the conference. You could still win this series. And, yeah, if you get a win tonight, your lead is back up to 5 games in the SEC. So Texas is still in a great spot. This group bounced back. I remember they lost the series opener to LSU 8-2. It wasn't as bad as yesterday, but it was like, we might be in over our heads this weekend. And what did the Longhorns do there? They bounced back. They win on Saturday. They win on Sunday. Now, that was at home. This one's in a very hostile atmosphere on the road against a team that hates you. against a team that's been dominant at their home ballpark for years. So I think a little bit tougher this time around than it was against the Bayou Bengals. But every time Texas has been presented a new challenge this year, they have passed the test. They have gotten up off the mat. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Texas gets the job done again. I don't know if I could pick it. I think Texas is going to win one of these next two games. If they win two and prove me wrong, I'll be very, very happy. And if that's the case, then yeah, you might want to start booking your tickets to Omaha. Don't want to count the chickens before they hatch. But after last night, if you respond with 2 wins on the road at a desperate Arkansas team, feel really good about this team's chances to make a deep, deep run in the summertime. The other good news, I mean, you're looking for silver linings when you lose 9-0. Texas didn't have to use its best bullpen arms. So if these next 2 games are closer, hopefully they will be, you'll have, Max Grubbs and Dylan Volantis available in both, you would think. So that's good. Your back end is still fresh and ready to go. None of those guys pitched on Tuesday either against Prairie View A&M. So there you go. Again, it's one game. A 1-0 loss counts the same as a 9-0 loss. They don't feel the same, but in the standings, they look the exact same. So find a way to bounce back. Luke Harrison, need a good start from you. Harrison was great against A&M last Saturday. 6 innings, gave up just 1 run. He's the stalwart of this Texas rotation right now. He has to be great to give Texas a chance, and it goes without saying. I mean, 2 hits, 0 runs. You're not going to win any games in this sport with 0 runs. The offense has to be a little bit more disciplined at the plate. Again, tip your cap. Zach Root was amazing. He did something that not a lot of people have been able to do against this Longhorn lineup this year. He was efficient. He worked quick. Texas couldn't work counts the way that they have all season long. Zach Root was great. You got to find a way to bounce back as a team tonight and put a little bit more pressure on Arkansas to make some plays defensively, just get into some higher pressure situations, because that was cruise control for the Piggies yesterday. Ugh, don't like them very much. Please find a way to get it done. We'll see what Luke Harrison does. And then Jason Flores, the one Texas starter who is not very good against A&M, he gets the ball tomorrow. Hopefully he can have a bounce back performance. Everybody needs a bounce back performance after what went down at Baum Walker yesterday. That was on national TV too. Not fun. We'll see what the Horns do. Again, don't put anything past them. These guys are resilient, and they have shown us that throughout the season. 7 o'clock tonight on SEC Network. I think 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on SEC Network Plus. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, please like, please share, please rate 5 stars, please subscribe, please leave a comment. All of those great things. Thank you for that. More importantly, thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Portal Show with Brian Smith. He's got the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings, so you can be the most informed college football fan, because there's a lot changing all of the time. Find Locked On the Portal on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, and stay up to date with everything that you need to know. Texas baseball series recap on Monday. More Longhorn football conversation on Monday. Never a dull moment on the 40 acres. We've got you covered right here on Locked On Longhorns. Again, appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope y'all enjoy the weekend. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.